Mother and motherland are more glorious than heaven. Janani Janmabhumischa Swargadapi Gariyasi. My fourth elder brother, Nori Dattatreyudu, was working in a higher post in the State Bank of India. When the employees of the bank came together and made a housing colony for themselves in the Malakpet area of Hyderabad, my brother also constructed his own house there. A separate bedroom was earmarked for my mother in his home. My mother spent the rest of her life there, with deep devotion towards God Almighty and reciting Lalita Sahasranamavali was her undeviating daily routine. A park and a temple were also located nearby. Sitting on the veranda looking at the passers-by, my mother used to spend her evenings. I must emphasize that my mother was a woman of unconditional love and compassion. She didn't admonish anyone. It is very rare that one can get along with everyone, daughters in law, sons in law, children, grandchildren. She neither used to blame any, nor was she blamed by any. She was the epitome of love. Undoubtedly, she was the center of my family. While I was pursuing my MD, her wrist needed minor surgery. Those who work continuously develop stiffness at the wrist and experience a pulse of shock occasionally. My mother also suffered from a painful wrist, hence I got her operated on and cured. Because of that, my mother used to tell everybody, my Dattu is a big doctor, and took pride in that. During my internship, she was found deficient in B complex. I therefore used to give her an injection once yearly. Although I had told her several times that it was a very small task and anybody could administer that injection for her, she never used to take it from anybody else but wait like a child for me to come and administer it. My mother liked my kith and kin to frequent my home often, and she never used to send anybody back empty handed. She preferred to give them some gift or something in cash or kind. I knew this, and that's why whenever I visited her, I used to give her rupees 50,000 without fail so that she could spend it the way she liked. In turn, she used to write to me about who visited her, when, and also describe their well being, etc. Also, she used to write how much money she had donated to which temple or what worship while meticulously enclosing the receipts. I have carefully preserved her letters and those receipts to this day. I used to visit India 4 times in a year. When I informed her by phone about my upcoming visit to her, she used to feel immensely happy and wait for me expectantly. She was very fond of me and pampered me as I was the last of her children and also had lost my father at a very young age. Wherever I was with her, I used to take shelter in her arms. Once, when I was in Russia, I suddenly decided to surprise her and go to India. When I was in Russia, I suddenly decided to surprise her and went to India. When I called her from Hyderabad airport, she asked me, "When did you come?" I could not understand how she was able to guess where I was, as I had not disclosed my location to her. When I asked her about it, she brushed it aside with a smile, saying, "I'm your mother. Could I know that much?" When I was in the US, I felt a sort of emptiness if I didn't talk to her at least once in 2 days. In 1998, when I visited her in India, she was 93. While handing over some money to her, I purposely kept away 4,000 rupees in my pocket and asked her to count the money I had just given to her. She counted and told me promptly, "Dattu, it is short by 4,000. It doesn't total to 50,000 rupees." At that age, her faculties were fine and mentally she was very sharp. I sheepishly smiled and confessed, "I had kept it away purposely only to test whether you would realize it or not and handed over the rest of the money. But then I could not realize that it was the last time that both of us would heartily laugh together." When I was about to set out, she came out and bade me goodbye, waving her hand. Later, on a fateful morning, my nephew, son of my third elder brother, called me on the phone and said, "Uncle, Granny passed away." That everyone born shall die is a universal truth known to everybody. As a doctor, I witnessed somebody dying almost every day in the hospital. But loss of one's mother is very difficult to accept and it causes immense sorrow. Whenever it comes to my mind, I get shaken. Until now, I cannot accept that truth. Even today, when I try to accept it, I break down inconsolably. As soon as we got the news, Subhadra and I rushed to India. My brothers preserved her body until we reached there. After lunch, she had developed chest pain, fatigue, and that was all. After the final rites, all of us went to Nagarjuna Sagar and immersed her mortal remains in the river Krishna. My mother, who was born on the banks of the river Krishna, merged with it. On my return journey, the teeming memories of my mother swarmed my mind. When I was 1 year old, my mother set out to Totlavaluru from Uyuru with me in her arms. My sister was also there. The journey was by bullock cart. On the way, there was a bridge on Krishna Canal. When the cart was going over the bridge, somehow the bullocks went haywire and the cart driver could not control them. The bulls ran amok, and the cart suddenly turned over with a thud. Everybody in the cart sustained serious injuries. Although she was injured and started bleeding, my mother had carefully engulfed me in her arms and saved me unscathed. Holding me in her arms, walking my sister alongside her, she struggled to tread more than a mile to reach home. The injuries she sustained then left marks on her body for a very long time. So deep and severe were the injuries. For her sake, she used to grind the broken rice, sold her gold bangles, and made too many more sacrifices to list. All those incidents flashed in front of my eyes. Like the surging sea, the tears welled up in my eyes. After losing such a mother, although I still have my kith and kin, the world went blank for me. Some time ago, I had brought her a small table for her to dine at. That table and her spectacles and photos I carried with me back to America. In my prayer room, I kept her photo on the table. Every day during my time of worship, I pay my obeisance to her without fail. After my mother's death, I had the misfortune of losing two of my elder brothers, my second brother Mrityunjay Rao in 2009 and Madhura Babu in 2014. They were very affectionate and loved by all. Their support to the family was remarkable. My mother lived in the house of my brother Madhura Babu for most of her life happily till her last days. I am making mention about him to record his selfless services provided to our mother.